Hi guys, today I wanted to talk a little bit about developer habits. They're something that are quite important and they're probably unique to everyone. They're a little bit different depending on who you are or what you do. But for me, I've had some really good habits and I've had some really bad ones. And they've really affected the way that I work, the way I perform, and even just my whole body in general. Like when I had some bad habits, I wasn't able to stay awake very well. I wasn't able to stay motivated. So I wanted to talk about some bad habits I've had and some good ones. And hopefully this gives you guys some advice on what you guys can do yourselves if you've got some habits you want to work on. If you don't know who I am, I'm Adrian from Australia. I do videos around design and development. So if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe and let's just jump straight into it. My very first bad habit, which took me years to figure out, was how I eat. I had a bad habit of not eating very well. This meant that I was essentially eating a lot of fast food. Things like McDonald's, things like KFC, and what would happen would be that I was feeling very tired. Eating that kind of food isn't very healthy. Having 5 minutes noodles and then jumping back into work might feel like you're essentially doing more work, but what you're doing is you're reducing your efficiency. You're reducing how well you perform because you're not getting those nutrients that you need to be able to focus properly. And what ended up happening was that I ended up finding myself always sleeping a lot, always feeling tired, lethargic, and essentially not having the motivation to keep on going because essentially I wasn't giving my body the nutrients that it needed. This also meant that I would start eating a lot of snacks, a lot of chocolate and Kit Kats, and I would try to get that sugar high to get some of that productivity back. The problem with that is it's short-lived. It's not really a proper way to get energy. It's not a proper way to eat. And all of these things essentially meant that for years I wasn't doing very well. I wasn't performing at the level I could be. And it wasn't until my family helped me focus in a little bit more on how I'm eating that I changed my habits for this. I started eating a lot more healthy, and this meant that when I was hungry, I would grab an apple instead of chocolate. It meant that when it was time to eat lunch, I wouldn't go down to Macca's to get a burger. I would just make a salad for myself. It also meant that this way I was able to lose a little bit more weight, and this meant that I also had a lot more energy, so I was able to work longer throughout the day when I needed to, and work more efficiently because I felt more motivated and energized, a lot more than any sugar or chocolate high ever gave me. So this is one of the things that I've tried to now consistently keep up. It's surrounding myself with lots of healthy options. So stocking my food up with lots of things like carrot sticks and fruit and veg and grapes and apples, so that if I get those munchies, I can just grab a healthy option instead. And this habit is now almost a good habit for me, which is really great. Another bad habit that I've recently adopted, unfortunately, is the habit of social media. Social media and things like Twitter and Facebook, they ping your phone constantly. There are little notifications and it can almost get addictive to keep seeing what people are saying, try to say things back. And this isn't just to social media, it's also to do with emails and just work in general, sometimes phone calls and messages from friends and family. And what ends up happening is, especially in programming, it requires a lot of focus. It needs you to be able to sit down and work on a problem for a while. And when you've got all those notifications coming in from social media and friends and emails, then you're not able to really sit down and focus on a single piece of work because you'll constantly be swapping your attention. You'll swap your focus, and when you're trying to solve a problem or write out a function and you swap your mindset from writing a notification to your mate and then swap back, you'll lose track of where you were and you'll have to start from the beginning. And this is something that I found myself doing more and more, so I've been working on this bad habit to try and improve it. What I'm doing now is I'm putting my phone on silent, so at least for an hour I can focus in on a single bit of work. And this helps me do a lot better now. Now I'm only getting messages if they're truly important, otherwise everything else is blocked out. I also make sure that I turn my phone on Do Not Disturb as soon as it hits around 6 or 7 o'clock. This is the time at the end of the day where you want to relax. Your mind has to settle down and get ready for sleep. So usually what I try to do is I try to make sure that I'm not getting prompted with so many notifications as well. And in terms of my emails, I usually like to separate them out. So I might check them in the morning, maybe in the evening, and maybe once in the midday. So that way I can sort of chunk them together. And I'm not always ad hoc responding to them and dropping everything I'm doing to be able to do that. Because sometimes when you leave an email just for a day, it seems to sort itself out. And whatever that problem might have been that might have been urgent wasn't really urgent in the first place. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is now good habits. Good habits are the ones that make you better as a developer. And for me, there are two main good habits that I've always focused in on, and these are hard work and consistency. They sort of work hand in hand, but there's two elements to each of them. For hard work, for me, it was subject because it's one of those things that I found I needed to do to finish off projects. I used to love doing lots of projects. I used to get really energized, especially at the start of projects. That's the fun part. That's the part where you're really motivated to do things. But projects require a lot of work. They're not just 3 to 6 hours of being interested in about an idea. It's sometimes weeks and weeks or months of work where you have to finish and see something through. And a lot of the times I wasn't seeing things through. I would get motivated and put all my best effort in at the beginning. But as soon as the going got tough, then I didn't put in my best work. I just sort of did it to do it. Or sometimes I completely left it and didn't even finish the project. And this got into a really bad habit and something that I tried to fix immediately. So I've turned this now into a good habit. My hard work habit is essentially trying to do my best. It doesn't matter whether something's very interesting or it's gotten to the point where I just need to finish it off. If you put in your best effort in for the whole project, then it comes out a lot better. In the future, you can look back on that and be very proud of it. I know that a lot of the times in the past when I gave up and didn't put my best work in, then I sort of was a little bit upset at myself that this project didn't look very good. And that's simply because I didn't put in the hard work and my best effort to complete it. And that's something now that I can do, and I do all the time, and it's become a habit. So no matter how I feel, I'll always do my best work, no matter what. The other thing is being consistent. And consistency is a little bit interesting because you can be consistent in your learning, you can be consistent in your work. And for me, I think I try to be consistent in a little bit of everything, but I try to break each item down into smaller parts. I used to try to do a lot of learning, and learning's hard because your brain can only fill up so much, especially in a certain day. And when I used to try and learn for 4 hours straight, it didn't work out very well. I wouldn't remember what I wanted to do or what I was learning that day. So what I did was I tried to make a consistent effort to learn only a little bit every day. I would maybe spend only 10 to 15 minutes learning a new subject or concept, but this helped me learn a lot in the long term because I would consistently be learning 15 minutes a day for the whole year. And this would amount to hours of learning. It was a lot more beneficial for me to do it this way than trying to cram it in all during a week or a month. On top of that, being consistent also means consistently working to make sure you have good habits, such as working hard, working well, doing your best. Consistency, like I said, goes hand in hand with hard work. So consistency for me in working meant that I consistently deliver in on the best work that I can. I consistently make sure that I work the right amount each day because as developers, especially when you're working remotely, sometimes it can be easy to just think, oh, I'll leave this till later and I'll leave this till later until you're trying to rush it out in the last minute. It's something that I used to do a lot when I was studying and doing uni projects and school assignments, and leaving things to the last minute is a terrible way to do things. If you consistently try to start them at the beginning and put in a little bit of time every single day, you'll do a better job at it. You'll essentially have better results, and that's the main aspect to it. Combining hard work and consistency means that you'll be a better developer because people will be able to see that work that you're doing is always done on time, if not earlier, and it's done with your best foot forward. Anyway, these are my thoughts on developer habits. There is a great channel out there for developer habits called Developer Habits. You guys can check them out. I'm going to link them in the description below. I've actually done a small collaboration with them, and you'll be seeing an interview with me talking about some really interesting topics about how I got started in web and development, how I swapped careers, and a couple of other things, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit like and hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.